I was puking for 2 hours. My eyes were like crossing. Piles of tires were wild boars. I went through a bit of a depression, actually.
First place at the Arizona Monster 300.
I decided I didn't want to be a police officer anymore, so I signed up for my first marathon, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. My first ultra marathon was basically like in the mountains in Iceland, 24 hours in like every weather imaginable, because it was like -20, it was like snow, rain, sleet, saw the northern lights. Like, I've never seen like wind and rain and snow coming in all directions before. You can only control so much of an ultra marathon race. Whether you carry yourself to the end or you only make it halfway, you gotta try. But we're gonna get to the end.
What makes someone run 304 miles on foot through the desert for 5 days straight? And what happens at mile 250 when the body is breaking and the mind is the only thing that's left? Today's guest did exactly that. And a decade ago, a life altering injury took away the sport she loved. So, how is this possible? Let's find out. My guest today is Selene Mallone, full time firefighter in Toronto, volunteer firefighter in King Township, dog mom, and one of the most extraordinary, incredible ultra runners in Canada. This spring, she came in first place at the Arizona Monster 300, broke the women's course record by nearly 5 hours, and finished fourth overall. So let us welcome Selene Mallone. Welcome to the Embers Rising podcast. I'm super stoked and fired up. You're here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here too.
Selene, you are incredible. And before we go anywhere else, I want to ask you something real. How are you arriving with us today? What is your vibe? What's alive in you right now?
I'm arriving here in some pretty good spirits. I just had a really nice hour-long walk with my dog outside. That's the first thing we do every morning when I'm home. So we're here and we're already having a great day. So
Oh, I love that. I love that. And your dog's name is
Henry.
Henry. Yes. All right, Henry. So before we dive in, I have to sit with this for a second because what you just did was absolutely extraordinary. First place female, course record, 304 miles. Can you take a breath with me and let me celebrate this for a moment because it's just absolutely incredible. And I just think we need to take a pause. Like, yes. I mean, there's so much work that goes behind that because here's the thing, the story doesn't start at the start line a few weeks ago, and you know that. This started years ago, and so I wanna take you back to the day of this life-altering injury, if we can. If you could tell us what happened, where were you? Close your eyes, let us know what was going through in the moment. Speak to the listener right now who's maybe had their own before and after moment and is just trying to get through, trying to get to their next space.
So in 2016, at this point, it had been about 3.5 years I was competing as a powerlifter. Wanted to be a police officer, so I was in school to be a cop. And I was at provincials in Ottawa, and I was going for my second lift. I had just finished my squat and my bench, and I was going for my second deadlift because you get 3 lifts per exercise. And when I was on stage, I picked up a 350 pound um, barbell and I locked out my hips too far. I fell back and I actually crushed my foot. So basically, I crushed my entire fifth metatarsal.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, and like being completely like having adrenaline running through you. It was like broadcasted across like all of Canada, and I ran off the stage and was like completely embarrassed because that's never happened before. And like when you're very passionate about something and you're competing at a higher level, because I had aspirations of going to nationals, and then you basically land on your butt. You're going like, what do I do? So ran off stage, sat down, and I was also in Ottawa alone. So it's like, what are we gonna do? They called the ambulance. Ambulance picked me up, brought me to Ottawa General, and then they said that I basically displaced my bone. So it's called a Jones fracture. So basically, like the best way to picture is like putting my hand up here, and like I completely displaced the bone here, and it went like that. So it was no longer. It's not like it was a break or a fracture. It was literally just completely like
And that's in your foot? In your foot?
So that was in my foot. Yeah. So luckily it was my left foot, and I was supposed to stay in Ottawa for another night. I did not want to. Packed up my car and I drove home um, that night. So got home and then kind of tried to go back to regular life, but I didn't know how to go about regular life because something that I cared so much about, poured so much into, couldn't do it anymore. Um, and then I decided I didn't want to be a police officer anymore. So it was like having this like identity crisis. All my life I've played sports, and like I was always competing at like the highest level that I possibly could for me, and being taken out of that space, not on my own terms, but on terms of an injury, it was really hard to sit with. And then also deciding that something that you thought you wanted for a few years as a career ended up not being what you wanted, and you're realizing it's not something you're really made for is also hard to sit with too. So sitting in university and you're like, what do I do? So I kind of had a very self-reflective moment. I went through a bit of a depression actually. I didn't do anything anymore. And my mom, who is like my biggest supporter, my biggest advocate for like anything and everything I want to do, she's always been the push of like, you can do this. So she brought up a couple of dumbbells from the basement, put them upstairs, put them beside me, and said, "You're going to do some weights today." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You can do curls, you can do overhead presses. Like, here's 10 pounds. Start, do something." And it was like a moment of like, yeah, you're right. I'm 21 years old. What am I doing? Why am I being so upset with myself? Like, this is just giving me a moment of clarity of, okay, maybe this is not your sport anymore. Let's move on to something else. This is not the career that you want. Let's figure out what we want to do. So in the moment, started just doing little things every day. And then with that, realized like that little act of kindness that my mom gave to me in that moment of like clarity, I was like, I want to help people. I still want to work emergency services, and then decided on firefighting. So I was like, cool. And then decided I want to be better and I want to try something different. So I signed up for my first marathon. So I ran my first marathon a year to the date that I broke my foot. So it was just a moment of just like having all that negativity, all that like horrible like self-talk I had for so long, like left it behind. I was so fortunate too that the surgeon I had, he actually said to me, he goes like all the things, because I had a lot of doctors basically tell me you won't be able to return to doing anything anymore. Like goodbye to lifting heavy, being on your feet all day, doing this, doing that, all the things you want to do, goodbye. And the surgeon I had, he was like, don't listen to those people. Like, we're going to get you set up and we're going to go through surgery, put in a plan of action so that you can get to do all the things you want to do again. So I ended up having a surgical screw basically fused into my bone, and it's holding my bone in place now. It's never going to come out because basically the bone has formed around the screw, and that's what I have in my left foot now. It doesn't cause me any problems. The only thing it just does is it gives me more of a collapsed arch. So I just have like some pain every once in a while, but like, orthotics always help. So
Yeah, exactly. Wow, when you were telling me that story, I could totally relate to that in a different space because I used to, mountain bike and race for 10 years, and ended up having some pretty severe crashes. I ended up with a TBI, and, it was like a massive migraine for 6 months, and then my brain was swollen in the skull, and we were talking about drilling just to get the pressure down, and so I can relate in the sense how it feels so debilitating to do something that you absolutely love, and I've grown up with sports around myself, and so I feel you when you say that because, you glaze over it in a sense and, like, you were down, man. Like, I was so down. I totally get that, Celine, how you could feel that way, and then it's like, what's the next thing? So, it's almost like your mom was the saving grace to come in and set those weights there, you know?
yeah, because I mean, like, think about it too. Like, all my friends that I went to school with were police officers, and now, like, I didn't even want to do that. And then all the friends that I had grown up with and competed in various like sports in high school, we used to train together. So it's a moment of like seriously making drastic changes, changing like your hobbies, changing your career, changing your everything. So it was a very hard year. Ended up so that same year was a big year. because I actually went on my first solo trip. So I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Um, yeah, I traveled to Africa in the summer, so in August, and was there for I think 10 days or 14 days. And yeah, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, ran my first marathon in October, and then threw my name into a lottery for so Spartan Race used to do because I used to do a lot of Spartan races, and they used to do a 24-hour ultra in like Iceland. So I put my name in there. I was like, I'm not gonna get picked, whatever. And then I get an email when I was in Africa. You have been selected for the 2017 Spartan World Championship Ultra Marathon. And I was like, oh my god. So that was actually so my first ultra because at that point I'm like, well, like it's your typical lottery. You put your credit card in, they take you money. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to that. So my first ultra marathon was in 2017, and I ran in basically like in the mountains in Iceland, and it was another like trip where I did not know what I was doing or getting myself into, but I survived.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Wow.
24 hours in like every weather imaginable because it was like -20, it was like snow, rain, sleet, saw the northern lights. Like I've never seen like wind and rain and snow coming in all directions before. And it was the hardest, but like such a good experience. And that kind of just put me into like, yeah, I guess we could do this too.
That's incredible. I mean, just the mindset to go out and do that and put yourself through that. My gosh. Okay, we've got to bring this back because basically going from a hospital bed surgery to now a 300-mile course these years later. I mean, let's talk about really every runner listening needs to hear. And I want to jump into the Arizona Monster 300 race because you live in Ontario, Canada. You race in the mountains. You're an incredible woman. You have trained for these 304 miles of desert from the flats. And how the heck does that happen, Celine? What's the secret of getting out there?
The secret is taking a risk. And like the way I view racing, especially when you're going to put yourself in a position where there's a lot of unknowns, is to control as much as you can. Like at the end of the day, you can only control so much of an ultra marathon race, but if there's things that you can kind of like train yourself to a certain degree, I'm a big proponent of going in as ready as you possibly can. So, like when I did my first 200-mile race last year, I joined an altitude gym and was training in altitude, so 14% oxygen and 11,500 feet, and was doing that 3 to 4 times a week. So at least I'm getting um, that exposure to altitude and training at a lower oxygen rate. So I translated that still consistently, stayed with that training, and obviously with more consistency, like the better you are at performing at those levels. So stayed at the gym, and it's amazing. So stayed with that, kept that in my training. And then another thing I added was heat training the best that I can because I can't afford a sauna. I don't go to a gym that has a sauna. So I actually bought a sauna suit. It was like basically it's like it's a suit that boxers use for cutting weight,
Okay, do you get
and
in it? Do you get inside it?
it's an it's an insulated suit, and it looks like sweats, but it's this very thick, coarse material. And I would wear sweats underneath. I'd wear basically a toque and gloves, and I'd go on the Stairmaster for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, like 3 to 4 times a week to simulate climbing. Because what a lot of people don't know when you're climbing is when you're only doing climbing on a treadmill, you get lazy. So you're not actually picking up your feet, you're walking and you're not practicing that actual motion of going up. And when I'd rather do it on the Stairmaster, where I mean, you're on the endless staircase, so you go until you don't feel like going anymore. But it's not having like a an elevation goal in mind or a distance goal in mind. I go for time. I don't go fast, but I go for just consistency. And then being able to sweat all encompassing, like it's just adding to the difficulty level of it. But I think it helped because I mean, I just got comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm very like familiar in that space of, well, this is not easy, but like, you know what? The race isn't going to be easy. And a lot of people in Canada, especially, like, especially where I live in the snow belt. So We get a lot of snow. It was a hard winter this year, and a lot of people in the winter often like shy away and gravitate towards the treadmill. It's so easy, it's very comfortable, and I typically do that, because who wants to be in the cold? But I said to myself, I'm like, you're gonna be pushing in the desert and it's gonna suck. Like, you're not from the desert, you're not from the heat, but you got to get time on trail. So I was going through like knee deep snow, waist deep snow. I'm typically averaging 6 minutes per kilometer. I apologize, Canadian Canadian numbers, but I average like 6 minutes, 6:30 kilometers on trail. And imagine you're running and you're averaging 9:30, 10-minute pace. Like that's a big humbling experience when you go from running 4 minutes slower and your time on trail like 2 hour like 20K on trail would normally take me anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours, and I'm like 4.5 hours now. So like your time is almost doubling. So I was like almost preparing to be out there longer. And then the longer you're out there, your water freezes, your electrolytes freeze. So I had to get crafty on like hiding bottles in my pack and then switching them around and then thinking, okay, I need to bring extra calories because I'm going to be out there 2.5 hours longer. And it sucked at first. It was like so brutal. I ended up getting like frost nip on my toes because it was so freaking cold because it was like -20 to -30. No one's on the trail but me. So, a lot of solo training, a lot of time on feet. But I just said to myself, I'm like, if I can get through this, and I know it's like a different level of extreme, but you also wear the right gear in order to tackle said distances. So I said, if I wear enough, like I can run on this, it's no problem. And then it was like so satisfying. Every time I went for a run, I'm like, oh, I wore the right amount of layers. I didn't have to take anything off today. The only thing I had to put on and off was my gloves or my hat. Like, so I would take those little wins and ended up just like having a much better time with the training, like accepting I'm not moving fast, I'm moving slow, but it's going to take me somewhere because running in snow is like running in the sand. There's no forgiveness, there's no rebound, so you just sink.
Wow. And
And
how
then
long did you
you
do
have,
this between like these snow sessions and the altitude training?
so my altitude training, I do like 3 to 4 times a week. And I typically will train around 5:30 in the morning if I'm home. If I'm coming off shift, it's the first thing I do when I come off shift because a lot of people actually go to bed when they finish shift, and I like to have some sort of movement. So whether it be go for a run with friends, or I'll go for a walk or run with my dog, or I go to the gym because it's kind of like just having like your morning coffee. It kind of sets you up for the day, and it's the best thing I've ever done because you're not wasting your day away. So like I work 7 times a month, but I'm gone for 24 hours. If you do that, so let's say you're gone 24 hours, and then every day after shift you sleep and you don't really do much. That's another 7 days. So that's 14 days a month you're not living. So I would rather spend those days when I'm coming off shift and I spend like basically the entire day with my dog. We'll go walk, we'll go run, we'll be outside, we'll hang out. But I'd rather be doing that than taking a really long nap and just watching TV.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm like taking notes right now. I'm like, all right, listen. I mean, you talked about the altitude training, then we have the Stairmaster, the workouts, and then you got the snow.
Yeah, and
You rotate in that.
another thing I added actually the last like a month and a half, still nervous about the heat, was I actually bought it's a sleeping bag, but it's a sauna sleeping bag.
Okay.
So I'd go for a run outside and wear at that this point I was wearing extra layers, so I was sweating more. And then I would call my boyfriend. I'm like, I'm half an hour away, so he would plug in the sauna blanket, and then I'd wrap myself in one of those foil bivvies, and I'd lie in the sauna blanket for like maybe an hour. So I was like, this is good twofold. I'm practicing dirt naps, so I'm getting comfortable being on the floor,
I love it.
and I'm sweating my butt off, and it was like 30 degrees Celsius in there, so I was just sweating even more. And like this is just me like overthinking, but at the same time, I said, you know what? It can't be this bad. It can't be this bad when I go there.
Yeah, no kidding. That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
and how long did you rotate these things for before this race?
Um, so I tried to do so my altitude training was for the most part 4 times a week. I did my sauna sessions 3 to 4 times a week, and I did my stairmaster sessions 3 to 4 times a week, and I was running anywhere between 5 to 6 days a week. So the way my training, I have a coach, and the way she schedules my training, she bases off of like when I'm working. So the only days I don't run when I'm in peak training is when I'm at work. So my work days are my rest days,
Right,
but they're not
exactly.
because I'm
Yeah.
I'm at work.
And are you talking, did you do this for like 3 months leading up to this or 6 months leading up to this?
So I started incorporating more of these elements as I was getting more into the depths of my training because also like the thing is too you don't want to overtrain or shock your body so much that by the time race day comes you're so exhausted because I have to go at such lengths to be able to perform in an environment that my body's not accustomed to. So it was like slow progression. So because I also would incorporate weighted vest walks, stairmaster, like all that kind of stuff as well. Um, so I would just do like my altitude nation training, and my runs were the same, and I walk with my dog every day. So with my dog walks, I would throw in my weighted vest, and I'd be walking with an extra 25 pounds to 30 pounds. And there's a lot of value in walking with your pet because if you have one like mine, he likes to walk at like 9:30 minute kilometers, 9 minute kilometers. So it's like a walk run half the time. But it paid off. It paid off because by the time I was walking, when I was walking with my pacer, he's like, "You are walking very fast for post 300 kilometers." I'm like, that's good, Henry. So good training partner. He's keeping
Yes.
me accountable. Keeping
Henry's
me
trained us.
accountable.
Oh, wait,
Henry's
so
trained us
tell us
well.
tell us about your coach. How long have you been training with her, and what did she see in you that maybe you have not seen or couldn't, back then, or maybe you're still working on, haven't seen in yourself?
So I signed with my coach in the end of 2023. Um, I had been doing ultras for a long time, but I wasn't really seeing progression. Like I ran my first 100K race in 2022, and then 2023 set out a goal on a looped course to do 100 miles. And I think I was 147 kilometers. So I was so close.
Oh,
And yeah, like it was like so close. And I was pretty like gut wrenched at it. But my boyfriend's like, it was a torrential downpour the entire race. There was a heat wave. Um, every race I do, it's a nightmare. Like it ends up being an absolute nightmare. But I like pushed through, and it was my boyfriend's first time crewing me. So we had like a screen tent, and it got completely raided through with rain, and he rigs like a clothesline in it, and he's trying to dry his clothes like he's in flip-flops, and it gets cold, and it was an absolute disaster. And I'm thinking this guy's gonna dump me or he's never gonna want to come to a race again. And turns out at the end of the race, like I had a great time. He goes, but we're doing this my way the next time. Like we're like changing up everything. So that was my first like attempt at 100 miles. And then signed with my coach at I think it was like around October, November of 2023. And then I've worked with her continuously throughout. She coached me for my first 100 miles. So when I got accepted to the Toronto Fire Academy, I was also signed up for my first 100 miler. So at the same time of training to be a full-time firefighter, I was training for my first 100-mile race simultaneously. So my 100-mile race was literally a week from the day I walked across the stage and got my official like badge from the Toronto Fire Services.
oh, how rewarding, how cool.
It was very cool, but I was like trying really hard not to be in pain. The chief's like shaking my hand, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. Standing is a chore right now, and I'm just happy to be here right now. But it was worth it. And then she coached me through my next 100 mile that year and continuously through there. She's also a good training partner of mine. And I think through our training sessions, she's pushed me more because she sees my potential. but that's also like having a good coach because they have that intuitive nature where they're able to see your potential. They're not like trying to kind of keep you to a certain level. They always want you to exceed and succeed because it's a testament to your capability as an athlete, but like their potential to train you to be that. And it's very rewarding in their respect. And she's always told me like I am insanely proud of you. Like there are no words. And in this 300-mile race, I called her because I was having a bit of a moment. She's like, call me whenever. So I called her and she's like, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm not doing great. And she goes, well, I'm going to tell you, you inspired me today. And then hearing that from your coach, it's like, oh, like I inspired you. And then she goes, and you inspired my daughter because, she goes, if Selene can run that far, maybe I can too that day. And I'm like, damn, like, oh, I never thought I'd be hearing this from someone I look up to so much, who's like just like such an amazing athlete and just somebody that I aspire to be. And you're hearing that from someone, you're like, oh my God.
Wow, coaches can, yeah, and people alone, can just help make the turn out there. Okay, so let's get back into this, Celine. Now take me back to the night before the race, all right? I mean, you're in bed, 304 miles ahead of you. What the heck's going through your head right now?
Um, Thinking like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but we're gonna get to the end.
Your guys' start time was, like, at noon or something, wasn't it? Or
It was at noon, and everyone was thinking like, you know, just you're gonna do so great. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna do. I literally just want to get to the finish. Like my goal is always like finish the damn thing and prevent like obviously like no injury or anything like that, but finish it. Like finish what you start. And whatever happens in between, we'll deal with it. But I woke up really early because they offered a shuttle service. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna take the shuttle because my crew, we rented a sprinter van. And I was like, I'm gonna take the shuttle. I'm gonna meet friends on the bus and I'm gonna talk to people and hopefully try to meet anybody. Everyone was sleeping on the bus. And I'm like, who am I trying to kid? I'm not gonna meet anybody. So I just sat on the bus and I'm like looking around and I'm like, ah. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, who am I trying to kid? Who wants to talk to a stranger
you're
on the
fired
bus?
up and ready to go, yeah.
Because I'm used to like a 6 a.m. start time, and I'm like, what's this moon business?
And people are sleeping.
So
You're like, "What the heck's going on?"
yeah, so I'm sitting on the bus and I'm looking out the window and I'm like, oh man, I got a 3 hour bus ride ahead of me.
Oh, no.
So yeah, like morning of, it was just like eat something, get on the bus, and a 3 hour bus ride. We got to the we got to the race start, and the first thing was equipment check. And I'm not used to this, but there's a bunch of mandatory gear you have to have. Obviously for survival purposes, because you're going to be in some pretty remote places, and it'll be a long time before anybody like crew or like help can get to you. So the pack was a little bit heavy because you need so much water and so much nutrition, but then so much extra gear on top of it to just survive. So yeah, we had gear check, and actually the person working the gear table was a friend of mine who I ran into. He actually ran with me at the divide. So I chatted with him, and I was like, man, lay it on me. Like, what do I got to do? So he gave me some good advice before the race, and he's like, okay, so like it's gonna be really hot today. And he's a phenomenal ultra runner. His name's Adam Williams, and he ran 9 plus 200-mile races last year. Like he's the guru in my books. But he basically said to me, he goes, okay, if you get to mile 27 by sundown, you've paced it right. If you get there too soon, you've done yourself in and you're going to have some digging to do during the night because it's going to be really hot today. Because that day it was like, I think it was 102 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, okay, I left Canada, it was minus 15. Okay.
We're in the triple digits now.
Like, what are we doing?
Alrighty, this heat training better pay off.
I'm hoping that at that point I'm like, man, that sauna suit better work because like that really sucked.
Oh my gosh. And how many three-digit days did you have out there?
I think the first day for sure, and then second and third were tethering. They were in the 90s, and that's from what I've been told unprecedented for that time of year. It's typically like a lot cooler, like in the 80s. So, they're like, oh, unexpected heat wave. I'm like, to my luck, of course it's like this when I go there. But you know what? You can't look. What is a race without having another element of like difficulty to it? Like
Well,
that's
you've
why we
put
do these,
yourself through so
right?
much already, so it's like, this is be like, "Hey, this we got this," "We're gonna get
We
through
gotta just
this.
do the thing now.
Let's just get it on. Let's get it done
Yep.
day by day." And are you thinking, like, not the full 304 miles? Are you thinking in your head, like, aid station and just that chunk to complete each throughout the day and the night?
Yeah, I kind of try and like break it up like that because even when I reach the halfway point, I'm like, I got to do this all over again. Like there's no point in like not that there's no point in celebrating it, but like there's no point in like looking how far you have to go because it's very debilitating. And I try and look at it in chunks of aid station to aid station or the next time I see crew kind of thing. I mean, with this race, we didn't see crew as much, so that was another element of like difficulty. But when you break it up like that, you have little things to look forward to. It's like, oh, I'm going to eat something other than gels, or I'm not going to drink lukewarm water anymore, and someone's going to take care of me and treat me like the child that I feel like I am, where I need a nap and some good food and I'm good to go. Like, when you can look forward to those little things, like checkpoint to checkpoint in my brain is the best way to do it. And then I had my watching kilometers the whole time. So like to keep my brain in tune, I was doing mental math the entire time, and I was like, okay, this many miles, I have this many kilometers. Okay.
It's like, check in.
Yeah, mental check-ins, and I did pretty well. I was very impressed.
Okay, so now take us back into the middle of this race, the days that are starting to blur together, the second night, the third, the 99 hours that you're on your feet. I want the details for all of us ultra runners listening out there that we're dying here. Did you sleep? Did you have hallucinations like they say? Like, what's happening to your body and mind out there when this basically time stops meaning anything?
So one thing that I will say that was like a godsend, which I think helped me the most and I think keep me stay in check was I went out there with no pacers. And I ran into my friend Adam, and then his racer dropped out, and like the first day, him and now my friend Lizzie, they both said we'll pace you, no problem. Like I'm like, oh great. So it's like because the whole time I'm thinking, man, nighttime's gonna be rough. I'm gonna be seeing some stuff. I'm gonna be like, because I was like, at, like night one because of the heat, like I was like thinking like piles of tires were wild boars, and I'm thinking, it's day one, and I don't even know. I see a stick, I'm like, it's a snake, and it's a stick, and I'm thinking, man, I'm in for it. But then they jumped in, and it was like such like clutch timing because Lizzie paced me, and she's an amazing athlete, and she's from the Eastern Sierras, and she trains there all the time. So she paced me up that lemon. And I was nervous about that just because like doing that at nighttime, doing it alone is a little bit nerve wracking. And then like, I mean, hallucinating on mountain is probably not ideal, but it's one of those like I go in risking like not having anybody, so you kind of have to just accept it. So went in with her and she paced me all the way up. Like and it was amazing. Like we got there an hour sooner than we thought we were going to, and there was four guys behind us, and they're trying to catch us. And she turns to me, she's like, "They're not, they're not going to catch us." And I go, "Oh no, we can't let that happen." So we hear their voices. We hear their voices. We're like coming closer, and she's like, "Selene, we're gonna push." I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna push." So we push up, we get to the top of the mountain, and we beat them. And she's like, "We dusted them." I'm like, "We absolutely did." And then my friend Adam picked me up from the top and then raced me all the way to the bottom. And I actually took a nap, like my first like actual dirt nap at the bottom. And it was the morning had just happened, and I was kind of like feeling that little bit of tiredness, that weariness, just because we made such a big push up and such a big push down, because it's a pretty aggressive descent coming down. So we get to this, it's like out of a movie. We're in this lovely little gorge, and he goes, Selene, take a seat here, there's a spring coming through. It's like what you basically pay white noise to be for like nature
Nice.
sounds. So he goes, take a nap here, and I'm like, say less. So I sit down and I just like
Done.
I'm for like 10 minutes, and he wakes me up, but I was so startled because I was so relaxed and at peace. I woke up and I was like, oh my God. And he goes, Selene, there's no fire. Like, you're not at work. It's fine. Like, in my brain, I'm thinking, like, I gotta go do something. And he goes, it's fine. And he had like filled up my refillable, uh, like, with my water bottle and everything. And I was like, okay, like, I guess we're going. And he tosses me a Red Bull and he's like, take this, you'll be fine. So that was my first, like, probably like my first dirt nap was there. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And like we got pretty lucky because we were off the mountain when the sun was up. We were well into the next part of the race, which was great. Just because like coming down, it's full exposure. So like what adds to the hallucinations is not only the heat, the sleep deprivation, and like just like continuous being on feet, but it's also the heat that adds just that element. So like being in a much better position, like definitely saved me too.
And how is your foot at this point too with the pin in it? I mean, is there any pain?
Um, so what happens to me sometimes is I get a bit of like ankle pain, but it's not really like a pain. It's just like, oh, I feel it. And sometimes it swells, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on how it likes to act that day. But it was pretty good. But what I actually made a mistake was during my dirt nap, I slept on my side and I actually aggravated my hip. So I had a minor hip like pain. And I was like, what the hell? Why would I do that? So my whole next section, I was like, Adam, you gotta push into my hip. And he's like, I'm like bracing on like a rock or a tree, and he's pushing into me like this. And then we get to the next aid station, which was like 2 to 3 miles further than it should have been, because that's all this ways how this happens in these races. Because, they just can't go the way you want them to all the time. But we get to the aid station, and I'm like, I need a medic. And she walks out. Her name's Thor, and she's amazing. She walks out of her car and she goes, well, it just so happens I just got here. And I'm like, to the grace of God, I'm like, thank you so very much. So she walks over. She's like, what do you need? I'm like, I don't know what's going on with my hip, but something's happening. So she goes, all right, lie down. So she lies me on my side and she's just attacking my hip. And then my pacer, he's trying to feed me mashed potatoes and he's trying to feed me like watermelon with salt on it, trying to like basically like keep me occupied. So I'm like chewing and I'm lying there and she's digging into my hip and I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. So then she goes, well, good news is like it's not an injury. I'm like, great. She's like, bad news is it's very angry at you. I'm like, great. Awesome. Love that for me. And I'm like, what do you recommend? She goes, well, you just got to stretch it every once in a while. Like, keep your hip open. So every time after I left that aid station, and I thanked her so much because, like, it was like such relief leaving there. And also, like, mentally, it kind of reset me too because I knew I wasn't going to do any damage. Because that's what you worry about too. Like, I wasn't even halfway yet. So you always worry that you're going to be dancing with that level of, like, okay, how much can I push with this? Is it going to offset me for the rest of my year? Like you have so much planned, but you put so much into this race. So it's that like that game you play and you just don't know how to play it. But it was just like the best news I could hear. I was at that point like we were running. The couple times we would get to like a really tall rock, I basically just went to a pigeon pose and sunk into my hip, opened it up, and
Yoga.
we kept going.
Yeah.
And we kept going. And he's like, you're moving well. And I'm like, yeah, I feel good. And I think he said, I think that was a mental block that you were able to just get through. And now you're pushing through like nothing happened.
Now, I remember, I was on OCD because we have some friends, that was also doing this race, so we were watching you and everybody else on the tracker, and I had seen there was a 2nd place, female behind you for quite a while, for 4 or 5 or 6 miles, continuously for a very, very long, maybe 100 miles or more. Did you know that she was there, and what was your thoughts going through as you were coming into the aid station? Were you feeling rushed, or you just continue on?
You know what? I'm a big believer in like you take your time, but not too much time. Like there's a time that you need and a time that you think you need. And I the first my first like thing is like as I'm a couple kilometers away from the aid station or miles, however you want to put it, I think of like, what do I need? What do I not need to refuel on? So you're not wasting time. And then like, because the aid station volunteers like want to help you. So if you go in there saying like, hey, I need this or I want this, and they'll do it for you. So like that already eliminates like time that you have to stand there and think like, I don't know what I need. So that's awesome. And then um, so like I would prioritize getting my pack and gear, and then they would just take my pack and run with it, which was awesome because then it's one less thing I have to worry about. And then I'm just thinking of like food that I can quickly eat now, food that I can take with me. If it's really hot, let's re-up on the ice before we go. But like I had a system in mind and like kept doing that every single time. It's like with your pack when you put the same things in certain spots. And then before you leave an aid station or when you start a race, you know where everything is. And if you do things in a sequence and you keep it that way, then you have less of a chance of forgetting, not getting what you need, or leaving something and go, oh, shoot, I should have brought that. So I always had this mental checklist. So I think that saved time. And I kept, and it evolves and sort of changes every time, but your basic needs, which is like eat, drink, sit for a second, like maybe excuse me, change shoes and socks, sure, but at the end of the day, like your basic things are pretty similar.
I think that's a really good idea, and that's a really good lesson for all of us, just systematizing our plan, getting into the aid station. Although sometimes getting into the aid station, I know different races can also be just so distracting with bells going off and people clapping and music and everything. It's like, ADD.
I think it's too that when there's a lot happening, like with other racers being in the aid station, with like sometimes a lot of help is too much help because then you just don't know how to divide yourself. But I mean, this can go either you being in the front of the pack, middle of the pack, or back of the pack, wherever you are. If you're one of few at the aid station, it's a little bit easier. When there's a lot of people, like when I got to the first aid station, there was so much of us there. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. So I just like grabbed stuff and I left because you can get so caught up in it and then get confused and then think you've asked for something or think you've done something and then go shoot, like I'm so far out and I didn't do that.
I should have got that. Yeah. So the person behind you wasn't even on your mind. Your focus on your thing, and you passed more than 50 men on that course. I mean, when did you realize what you were actually doing as you're closing in out there?
It's funny because like I'm the type of person that like just keeps going. I'm like, oh, if I have to walk, I have to walk. Oh, just don't stop. Don't take a sit because if you're gonna take a sit, at least take a nap because you're gonna be using your time a little bit better. But the more you keep moving, the more it's gonna pay you in dividends, and it's just gonna save you a world of like, oh, I've wasted half an hour just having to sit here. And being in an aid station, like take what you need and take it with you. Like those things really do help you out. And a couple of times I was like going back and forth with some guys, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess this is how it works. And then all of a sudden they were coming back, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? Where did they go? And I'm like, oh, we'll catch up at some point. And this one guy, the guy that came in third, actually, I ran with him on and off for a while. On the first day, we both ran out of water when we were going to the aid station. So we stuck together because they're like, ah, probably safer if we stay together. He's like, I'm not much of a talker. I'm like, I just need someone here just in case I pass out. Just, you never know. So him and I bounced around a little bit. He was a sweet man. He's from Texas actually. Oh no, Arizona actually. So he was like native to the area. Um, but he was just such a lovely person, and he ended up passing me because he was like flying, like he was feeling good, and I was like, "You do your thing." Didn't see him for the rest of the race. Um, but the few men that I passed, I was like, "Oh, I haven't seen them in a while." Oh, okay, like
And then the bigger realization, I mean, when did it click that you were just in it? I mean, you were leading the women's race. When did you know you were in first place, or did you know? I mean, what shifted for you when you knew that?
so like what was so strange was night one, as everybody has stated through like social media and stuff, it was extremely windy. It was like 40 kilometer mile. I don't know how, I don't know what the actual like how fast it was going for the wind, but it was crazy. Like one of the guy's glasses got knocked off his face. So it was very windy. So I'm on top of this ridge and I'm running and going back and forth with these guys, and I see this woman in front of me, but she runs back this way. She runs towards me. And I'm like, "Are you okay?" And she ignores me. I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I don't know." But I knew she was way out in the front. So I had a feeling she was like first, but I had no idea. And then she runs away, and I never see her again. So I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on. Like, am I going the wrong way? And at this point, I was on the phone with my boyfriend because like the winds were so crazy. I'm like, I just need someone around to know I'm alive. And then when I called him, this is the first time I'd called him all race. My phone was on airplane mode. I call him, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Why?" He goes, "It says you DNF'd." I
Oh,
went,
no.
"What?" He goes, "I've been trying to call you for hours." And I'm like, "Sorry, man. Like, I'm on a mountain. My phone's on airplane mode.
No.
Like, I'm doing me right now." And he goes, "Okay, like, as long as I know, like, you're still in it," because I got worried. He's like, "You're not on the tracker anymore. It says DNFs across the board." He goes, like, "My coach was texting him. Like, friends of mine were texting him because I had a group chat with like some close friends, and like my boyfriend was keeping them updated." And they're like, "What the heck's going on?" So he didn't know where I was on the map for the longest time. And then the first time I encountered Sam, we were running together for a little bit. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm near number 21." And he goes, "Okay, this is where you're on the map." Okay. And he goes, "Are you sticking with them?" And I'm like, "We're staying close." And he goes, "Okay, now I kind of know where you are." So I had to go to the next aid station and say, "Hey, by the way, like, still here,
Not DNF yet. We're
still
good.
here." So I
Good.
think they DNF'd me by accident when I said I was leaving. They must have clicked a button or something. Like, in this whole process, I had no idea where my standings were because I had a possible DNF. I had a woman running in a different way. I was teetering between men. I was like, "What the hell? Like, I can't keep track of this stuff."
You're just praying you're
So
going the right
we're in,
direction at this point.
yeah, like then he's like, "Are you running the right way?" I'm like, "Well, I'm on course." He's like, "Have you seen a marker?" And of course, it's like after the point I would have seen a marker. I'm like, "I don't know. I don't see anything." And then finally, I'm like, "I think I see one." I'm like, "No, that's a guy's light." He's like, "You can't trust other people." Like,
Right.
I could be going the wrong way. I'm like, "You're right. Stop asking me so many questions. It's like 3 in the morning. I'm hungry." But so yeah, I had just no clue of like my placement. And it wasn't until I was running with my pacer, Adam, where he's like, "You're first place." I'm like, "What?" And we were almost halfway through. I'm like, "No way." And he goes, "Yeah, because we reached the aid station where the medic was." And they're like, "It's first place female." I'm like, "What? How have I gone half this race and not knowing anything? This is
That's
crazy."
crazy.
Yeah. But
Wow.
my pacer was like, "Don't let it get to your head. Like, there's still a lot of race left." I'm like, "Oh, I'm aware. There's a lot of race left. Like, you gotta tell me that twice."
That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. All right. So tell us about a dark moment out there. Something maybe you haven't shared with anyone, or take us there. Speak to the person maybe who's listening, who's maybe running their own dark mile right now.
So my hardest was night 3 going into the next day. I was puking for 2 hours. My eyes were like crossing. Because at this point I'd only slept for maybe 3 hours. Like my longest sleep was an hour and a half, and it was at the Relito aid station in my Sprinter van. But everything else was like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and that's it. So yeah, I was kind of like going up and down these ridges and you name it, and like was just not having it. And then I was actually walking the wrong way at one point, and I see a headlight, and I hear Celine, and I'm like, "God." Like, what is that? Like, I have no idea. I'm like, how does this person know it's me? It's so dark. So my friend Adam and Lizzie were heading an aid station, and they were in charge of it. So he goes, "You're going the wrong way." I'm like, "Am I?" He goes, "Look at your map." And I'm like, "Oh, I am." So he goes, "Come this way." So he's like, "I can't stay with you because I'm working the aid and I can't, like, but he's like, "You got to go this way." I'm like, "Okay." So he runs back to the aid station, and then I get in there and I'm a mess. And they're like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "I had 2 river crossings because we had flash flood rains. I was literally in the eye of the storm at one point, and I was scared out of my life. Like, there's literally a map, and you see all this like dark like pink, and then you see 88, and it's this little number, and I'm literally in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm literally in this storm right now, battling it out. And my friend Adam calls my boyfriend and goes, "It's a good thing she's brave." So I came to this aid station and I was like, just like, fix me, please, because I was so distraught, like absolutely distraught. They got my shoes changed, got me sorted. I left out of there still delirious. And then I called my boyfriend. I'm like, listen, I've been puking for 2 hours. Like, nothing's staying down. I can't see anything. Eyes are going cross-eyed. The trail looks like it's over here, but it's over here. I actually kept going off trail and having to come back. Walked into a couple of cactuses, so I had like a friggin' branch on my leg, and I was trying to pull at the thorns. As I'm talking to him on the phone, so he goes, "Okay, stay on the phone with me." And I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Have you eaten anything?" I'm like, "Yeah, but it's like everywhere now. Like it's not in me anymore. It's out of me." And he goes, "Okay, try and eat something." So I'm like trying to eat. I had a bag of Oreos. So Adam and Lizzie just basically threw a bunch of snacks in my bag. And they're like, if you're tired, just keep eating stuff. And then all of a sudden my nose starts to bleed and it's all over my face. And I'm like, I have nothing. And they bought these like little like tampon things for my nose. And then I couldn't find them in my bag. It was a disaster. So I have my butt. So I'm running and I'm like walking and I'm like taking 10-minute naps and like trying to walk. And apparently she's closing in on me. They're like, the gap's closing, but like, we want you to be like safe. So do whatever you got to do. And I said, you got to stay on the phone with me. Like, I am struggling right now and I want to drop so hard. And this is like the lowest I've ever felt, the darkest I've ever felt right now. Like, I don't think I can do this. And they're like, my mom and my boyfriend are on the phone with me and they're just saying, yes, you can. Like, you've come so far. It's not that you physically can't. This is a mental thing and you just got to push through. So we pushed through, pushed through, pushed through. Finally got to the aid station, which was Apache Springs, and I was like in full like rain gear. Like I was like rain pants, rain jacket, like you name it, in full like insulated gear. Clearly, I'm delirious because it wasn't that cold, but I'm just in everything. And I come in there an absolute disaster. Blood all over my face, like having puked so much, and there's nothing in me, trying to eat Oreos and probably Oreo in my teeth and on my face. Who knows? I get there and the aid station captain looks at me and he goes, "It's gonna be okay."
It's good to hear.
And I was like, oh, he's like, "You're doing so well." I'm like, "Man, doing so well and feeling well are two different things right now, and I don't feel well." And he goes, "What do you need?" Sits me down and he's like, "I think you need to sleep." Because like as I'm sitting there, I'm like this, like rocking back and forth.
Oh,
And he's like, "I think you need to sleep." He goes, "I promise you, whatever time you need, I will set a timer and then we'll wake you up when the timer comes off." I'm like, okay. So he puts a cot right by the fire, wraps me up in blankets, tucks me in. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sleep 15 minutes. Puts a timer on. I wake up to, "Hi, Celine, your oatmeal's ready." So he hands me a coffee, he hands me oatmeal, he hands me cookies. Like, I'm telling you, treat me like a child and I'll be the happiest ultra
you're
runner out
good.
there. I
You're
had
good to
enough
go.
food and I was feeling okay. So I called my coach and I'm like, "Listen, I'm not okay right now. Like I slept 15 minutes, but I don't think it's enough to push through to the end. Like I just because it was basically I had to make it from this aid station and I had to make it to Casablanca and then it was the last stretch." So she goes, "Okay, sleep 20 more." She goes like, "Do you want to go out there and be running all over the place or do you want to actually like close your eyes, rush your body and then go out there strong?" I'm like, "Okay." So I said to her, I'm like, "That's what I'm gonna do." So I said to the station captain, I said, "Let's do the same thing again. Let's do a coffee, let's do oatmeal, let's do this, like have food, sleep, and then we're gonna go out again." So I woke up 20 minutes later, I eat, I'm chatting with the crew, and two of them actually were DNFs from the race, but they actually came back to help. So they came and they went through the storm just like I did. So I'm thinking, man, these people are sitting out here and they've gone through it and they were just happy to help. They weren't even racing. Their race was taken away from them and they're just happy to like be here. I'm like, I gotta finish this thing. So I hugged them all and like made a mental note of their names, who they were, and I said, I'm gonna try and find these people at the end. So left the aid station, called my crew. I'm like, hey guys. And they're like, she's awake. And I'm like, guess who's running? And they're like, no way, you're running. So then that whole next section, it was like running up, down, you name it, flats. I was like doing all these like run walks, had like my 9 minute kilometers, 8 minute kilometers back, like flying. I don't know, it was just like a switch flipped, and I was like, today is the last day. Like, you're gonna get through this, and then it's over, which you're happy and sad about because this is something that like you worked so hard for and you want to enjoy it. And that was when I had like that moment of let's actually enjoy the race. You had a shitty moment, the night's over. You've got the morning, which is your favorite time of day. Take advantage of the morning and just treat this as like just a nice long run. So when I got to the switchbacks, I was just going around this ridge and it felt like forever. And basically, you were slowly descending on the mountain, but you were just going around like this. And I'm used to like switchbacks where you're just going like this. And I'm on the phone with my boyfriend and I'm like, when are the switchbacks? He's like, you're on them. I'm like, you're lying. Like, these aren't switchbacks. Like, it's like Groundhog Day where every time I run around, I see the same thing and I've gone so far. So then um, this lady is waiting at the top of one of the ridges and she's sneaking pictures. I'm like, who's this woman? So my parents and my boyfriend met this lady at the laundromat and she came because her boys were training for Cocodona and they went to go see Michael McKnight finish. And when she heard first place female was coming, her boys wanted to meet me and she wanted to run with me. So she ran like 5 miles up the mountain and she stood there and waited. And then she paced me 5 miles down and she just ran with me. She's like, can I run with you? I'm like, yes. I said, I just don't have much conversation in me. She goes, I could talk your ear off, no problem. I'm like, perfect. Keep my mind busy. Talk to me. So we're talking away. She's telling me all about her kids and her life and what they do, and such a cool woman. And we finally make it down to the bottom. Like, damn, we're here already. She goes, yep. She goes, just a mile down the way. That's your crew. I'm like, holy cow! Like, we're almost there. And it's crazy how like like your darkest moment where you think you're stuck there and that's it for you within a matter of like some small thing like seeing people or having that uplifting moment or just all of a sudden a switch flips and then boom, you're riding the highest high. So I came into my crew still in my rain pants, still still in my long sleeve shirt because I'm like the sun's out, I don't want to get burnt, and I was too lazy to take my pants off. And I had my jacket like half tucked into my pack. So basically I was like wearing my sauna suit on the trail. And then I come into my crew and they're like, what are you wearing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like a mess right now, but I'm ready to finish this thing. And
That's awesome.
I got into the aid station and it was so nice because like people were cheering for me. People were like saying I've been following you this whole time. The one lady at registration, she specifically came to the aid station because she's like she wanted to see me come in. And then I got to the truck to like our sprinter van, quickly changed, didn't do a shoot change. I'm like, things feel good, leave them as they are. And that's a lesson I've learned. If like things are working, leave them. If your feet get wet or it's been enough time, change your shoes and socks, or at least your socks, and it's a game changer. But he'd only been wearing these for a short amount of time. I'm like, I can wear these to the finish. So I get ready, and Adam pops out. He's like, I'm pacing you for the next section. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, this is good and bad. This is good because like we're gonna finish. I'm like, but he's gonna push me. And my boyfriend had a side quest conversation with him, basically saying like, we're gonna make something happen today, and you're the person I know that can do it. So do what you can. And I felt like I was being rushed because like I got there, I changed, and they're like, okay, let's go. I'm like, what do you mean, let's go? Like they're rushing me, and I'm like, I want to say hi to everybody. I want to hug people, and they're like, no, no, we don't got time for that. So like quickly get ice, and we go out, and him and I are running, and we ran most of that last section. He turns to me at one point, he goes, we're gonna do something really big today. I'm like, okay. As he's running backwards uphill, and I'm like trying to keep up to him. I'm like, you're such a jerk right now. Like, I hate how good you are, but I love how good you are because it's good for me. So as we're going, he's like, this is how it's gonna go. He goes, we're gonna push more, You're probably going to cry, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be fine, and we're still going to push, and then we're going to finish. I'm like, okay, sure. And like, I'm trying my best. He's like, you're doing great. Giving me that positive reinforcement that I need, which is great because I had like, because he's very good on big on perspective, and he just says to me like, you're having a shitty moment, but like, let's think of like the good or this, and he's a yoga teacher as well, so like he's very good with like changing the mindset or being positive, being optimistic. So he was very good with like bringing that on, and Lizzie is as well. So it translated into me having better self-talk, better expectations for myself, and just like a better mindset. And I was mentally this race like in a much better space than I have been previously. And it's because you surround yourself by really good people and really positive people. You want to be the same. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. At one
Well,
point,
that's such
we're
a good lesson too for all of us that are also on the other side of pacing, or crewing, our runners.
well.
So
It's important because you see they're struggling. At one point, I started to cry. Like I was crying, and we were running up a hill. And he's like, "Slim, you're crying, but you're running up this hill right now." I'm like, "Man, this hurts so bad." And he's like, "It's gonna be worth it." But it's so. I just realized the value in a pacer because it's my first time having pacers. Like I've had pacers in like previous races, but only for like 20K. I've never had them for like 20 miles or more. But like I now see the value of pacer because it's just somebody to kind of just keep you in a good headspace and pull you out. And sometimes like they don't even have to say anything, but just their presence is more than enough. And the best way is like when you have a really good experience like that, you want to give back. And it's so important to give back in some capacity that you can. Because between amazing volunteers, amazing pacers, amazing crew, like it's important to also like be grateful for that. But in some capacity, if you can do any of those three things, like do it.
all right, let's take us to the finish line. First place female course record. Tell me the very first emotion, not the one you said out loud, but like the real one inside. What was going through your head?
It's over.
Like I'm actually done.
Yeah, like I'm like wow, because it's funny when you do something so much, you're like, this is just me now. This is what I do. Like this is it. We run, sleep, we eat, we do, we go. And then it was over. I'm like, I don't have to do any of that anymore. That's wild. And then seeing the time because I didn't know the time. I didn't check my watch or anything. I just tried to just like not put that pressure. And I looked and I went sub 100.
What was the actual
Holy.
numbers? What was the time?
It was 99 hours and 55 minutes.
Wow. Wow. I mean, congratulations. That's just epic. It's just epic. Just
Yeah,
absolutely epic.
like I went in with a time of like around 100, 110. Ultra Sign Up had like a prediction, and they're like 114. I'm like, okay, that seems like a good number. Like
I could take
it
that.
checks out. And then like the fact that I ran like 15 hours faster than that, I'm like, holy, Ultra Sign Up, you were wrong.
That is epic. That is epic. Okay, so I've got to read this thing because you wrote on your intake form a sentence, and I'm going to read it back to you because it ties back to this race. Truly, you can achieve anything if you dream big, train hard, and do your best. No matter the outcome, be proud that you tried. When you were out there, what part of that sentence did you need the most?
Um, just that I tried. Because I think, and this I had this discussion with people, like it's risky taking on these ventures because you just don't know. Like you can predict a marathon or a half marathon or a 10K, but there are so many factors that go into this. And registering for a 300-mile race without even doing a 200 was like so risky. But I just said like I gotta trust, like have a good feeling about this, and I just gotta try. And I'm a big proponent of like just standing on the start line is enough. Whether you carry yourself to the end or you only make it halfway, you got to try because you don't know. And if you don't know, the only way to answer that question is to try and try your best. So don't go in there and kind of just walk around. Like go in there and try your best because you've trained so hard. You don't want to put pressure, but you just want to put the proof in that you've trained really hard for something. And it just showed to me like my capacity and like I had done enough. And you never know if you've done enough in life or like in your career or anything. And for me, it was like I actually did do enough. And it was just like a very self-reflective moment of like, holy cow, like you did it.
You wrote something else that I completely relate to, that I wrote down in my notes here. You said the peaks of mountains are lonely without our family and friends, and I definitely can relate to that. Who's your mountain lonely without? And speak to the listener maybe who's achieved something really huge that's felt that same hollow at the top.
I'm very fortunate that my peak has a few people. It's my boyfriend, who is my biggest supporter, who's come, I mean, if he can survive a torrential downpour, apparently he can survive me being gone for hours in the mountains. But he's never told me no. He's like, all right, let's do it. And then obviously my mom and my dad, who this was his first ultra marathon that he ever came to see, and he finally got to see like why I love to do it. So that was really awesome. And then the other two people, because sometimes people don't have the best relationships with their family or they don't have a partner. I'm fortunate that I have a coach who's actually a really good friend of mine. Her name's Amanda Nelson. And then I called my other two girlfriends, my friend Ashley and my friend Erin, because it was just we've trained together, we've gone through so many life experiences together that like being able to share moments, like I called them when I was on the trail, I'm like, hey, I'm on a mountaintop, but like I need a chat right now. Like being able to have that is so helpful and just so like I called my friend Ashley at like 3:30 in the morning, like her time. And I'm like, I'm so sorry right now. She's like, that's fine. I've been waiting for this. And like knowing you have that is amazing. It's amazing. Like you don't need just family or a partner. Like you can find that community in anyone. And it's really nice having those people because like when you have your moments, those are the people you really need to hold on to because they will lift you up and they know you so well that they'll be able to say the right things to keep you in it.
I love that. I love that. All right. So, one of my last questions is the topic that fuels our runs, Celine, nutrition, hydration. Do you have anything that you're going to recommend to us? What do you have any specific products? Because I know I actually just ordered something that you had recommended when I saw on your Instagram.
What did you order?
I'm sitting on it, I think. I ordered one of these little packets I'm going to try this weekend.
Oh, those are the best. Those are so good.
So I'm
You
excited.
just
Yeah.
like so what I like about those is the caffeine is like very, very minimal. And it's the come down is not like when you take caffeine pills or a lot of people take a lot of people take like ketone and all this stuff. It's a nice little pick me up because it's more natural. So you like big proponent on those. Those are amazing. For nutrition, I'm very big. I love scratch. Scratch is my favorite through and through. Um, I'm dabbling into the high carb right now, so like trying it out, but it's like the hardest thing to mix. So I'm trying to find like a good recipe to mix it and be able to like take it with me. But love scratch. Um, and I actually really like Never Second gels because they were sponsored by the race, and I'm like, well, I got to try them and see if I like them, and I actually really like them.
Oh,
So
nice.
in
Okay. I'll
terms of
check that
in
out
terms
too.
of in terms of that, those were great. And I mean, you can never go wrong with water because especially for
Yes.
this race, I was carrying like 4 liters of water, just water.
Wow. That's good. Okay. One song that saved you at mile 200.
What? Oh, it's clarity.
Oh, nice.
It's funny because there's always like a few songs when they pop up. I'm like, I needed this right now. And it was a moment where like I really needed this. And it was like a moment, literally a moment of clarity. And I'm like, we're doing great. We're moving. We're out here. And it's awesome.
That's
So
awesome. Okay, I
that
gotta check that
one.
out. All right, so where can people find you? How can they support your Canadian Ultra mission, Celine?
So on Instagram, I'm small.1 with two E's. It's actually my first initial and my last name together. On the back of my fire gear, it literally says small one. So that's my name now. And then I also have a YouTube channel. So if you either search up my name, Selene Mallone, or a small one, you'll find it. And I've got some races that I did last year, and we're still adding the Divide. We're still adding the Monster, and a few other ones we've got coming up too. So.
That's awesome. And you've got another one coming up. What's the next?
So I'm calling my project the Ontario Double Double, which is basically a double double of coffee from Tim Hortons. And it's two creams, two sugars. So it's gonna be two hundreds.
Wow, crazy.
I've got a 200, which is in June, and I'm running on a really iconic trail, and it's going from like north to south, and then it's called the Ribbon. So I'm running that in June, and then in September I'm running the Sioux 200, which is a 200-mile race in like really good trails up north, and it's pretty barren. So I'm gonna be running in like some bushwhacking trails and stuff. So
Nice. Wow, that's epic. All right. Well, I may have to pick your brain. I'm pacing the Tahoe 200 this year, so would love some tips. We may have to jump on a call
absolutely, whatever you
this
need.
weekend
I
as
tell
I'm.
everybody like message me on Instagram if I can help in any way. Like whether you're my friend or not, like I appreciate you reaching out to me, and I'll answer anything the best that I can. I don't hide or gatekeep because I learn my knowledge from other people, so why not share it as well? So
Ah, love your energy, Celine. Thank you. And I'm serious about we need to jump on a call. So, okay, good. Anything else you want to share with us?
I think the last thing I just want to say is don't don't limit yourself. Like if you have an idea of like wanting to achieve something, just because it doesn't happen your first try doesn't mean it's never going to happen. Like there are people that want, a sub 3 marathon, or they want to finish 100 miles. There's a lady I know that didn't finish the race at the Arizona Monster, and I convinced her to sign up for it again and train really hard for it this year. And I told her, like, you can. Just don't limit yourself. Just because it doesn't go right the first time doesn't mean it's not going to go right the second time. So just keep an open mind and train hard and have an open heart, and good things will come your way.
I love that. Thank you for that advice and suggestions. And just, you're a beautiful soul, very special person, Celine, to all of us. So thank you for being here.